Friends, thank you very much for coming. I appreciate very much that you are here. Thank you very much also to coStA and to our wonderful crew of artist technicians for the very creative work they've done. We are very lucky tonight to have the wonderful paintings of a very celebrated Spanish painter, one of the most recognized, Guadalupe Luceño, who has given permission, who has allowed to project her paintings that will create the atmosphere for this night. It's a very special technique, the one that she uses in this collection of paintings, which is called Universos, because it's based on layers, different layers of ink applied on metacrilat. The interesting thing is that she conditions the development of the technique on the painting, but the final result, it's impossible to predict. There is an element of experimentation. Life and art can always be unpredictable. And everything is always an experiment and an experience at the same time. I've been told that there is a mysterious, enigmatic lady joining us tonight for this enigmatic evening. She comes from far countries, Asia or Africa, I don't know, maybe from the Egypt, like Sherazade, who between night and night, between dream and dream, was interwoven the tales, the little stories. She has created for us this fantasy of poems, maybe some music, there's a piano, and the mystery of art as an offering. In the end, it is all in life about offering, about being grateful, about giving and receiving roses, and everything vanishes later as a smoke. So, thank you very much. I hope that you enjoy and have a nice journey. Tonight, like every night, between dream and dream, the Egyptian will come, the Egyptian woman, with her wicker baskets woven by the ancestors, and her snakes from the river Nile, anaconda and cobra tied to her neck. This night as well, the Egyptian will come, and she will look at us with her eyes, which are black as woolen voles, those black eyes of hers that see far beyond the centuries. And she will caress our torsos with her hands in oil, made of brown skin like clay. For how many nights already the Egyptian has come, between dream and dream always, and she has always asked the two of us, hunting down, that we never stopped loving the other, and that we immediately went back to the dreaming like an act of pleasure, and that we set in the poems our minutes like another act of pleasure. The nights pass by, identical and beautiful, and the Egyptian is eternal, like the source of a river Nile. For every woman is the shadow of a river and the night of a dream. Shh! Silence! Silence! There she comes! It's the Egyptian woman, with her turned breast and her glance of a sphinx. She will pose for us the question, and we will turn back to be an enigma, like an act of pleasure. We will turn back to be an enigma, like an act of pleasure. Sonia. Suddenly it turns a day in which it looks like if something happened, everything happened 100 years ago. What are you reading? Oh, Jean Mont, the poet. Yes, I remember Jean Mont, the poet, yeah. Good fellow, huh? The night of the death of Jean Mont, his girlfriend dispelled some wine over his ashes, and at the same time, she was smoking from his last cigarette. Jean Mont, the poet, had just died, and his last cigarette was still vanishing with a bittersweet flavor. The morning of the death of Jean Mont, they had made love, like old lovers that still keep some hope that the morning will eventually come. Yeah. And the ravens, at the same time, were shouting and crying like crazy in the roof of the building. Night sometimes can be a torment. The night of the death of Jean Mont, his girlfriend dispelled some wine over the ashes. She was barefoot, with her feet covered with dust, with mud, with clay. She walked on the roses. Soon, they say, the roses will offer us to smoke from their pipe. The night of the death of Jean Mont, it was all about the roses, the smoke, the ravens, the dust. Jean Mont died, and he left an unfinished notebook of handwritten poems. The last of the lines reads, "Submerge yourself deep into the ocean and dream the white, the fragile sand. We were coming from the homeland that lacked of any time and any language. Return." Woman in the stars, your eyeglasses will be closed, taking the shape of infinite, cosmos, land, night. Your eyeglasses will be closed, such as cosmos last is last call from the last of the galaxies, waving all along for each of the stars. And the gentle violet light is the light of all of us standing up, silence and rest. Cosmos has been turned into a prayer for all of us. Sky firmament, interstellar cemetery, where each love is nothing but a tomb. Your eyeglasses will be closed, arch and strong as reeds, in the same manner in which the wave betrays its ocean, breaking itself against the stones, giving us back the jellyfish and the cadavers of love. Your eyeglasses will be closed at the fall of the cliffs, and rock and coast will remain a courageous temple, dreamt by the boats that never came back. Lie down. Be you yourself the tomb. You who wear the sacred womb. You woman, keep the land, such as the bird migrates to cemetery in the stars, such as soul is naught but atoms and ashes. It is only in the fainting traces of the smoke that the last of our prayers will remain, awakening infinite, willing only smoke to serve our names. Let us be the guest. Woman, surround us with your eyeglasses, bite us with your eyeglasses if you will, like knives and reeds. May you invite us, woman, and guide us through the smoke of the stars like wild savannas, and guide us through the reverberant night without time, from which we all came, from the clear night we all have dreamed. That's the island with the volcano, right, Sonia? Where was it? October 1957, yeah. The islands. The Spanish islands, the Canary Islands, yeah, that's it. Tenerife. Well, that small city in the north of the island, La Laguna. We played a concert there, right? Did we do that travel together, Sonia? We played with a chamber music orchestra, something like that. Beautiful opera theater with the balconies and the candles and the lights. And yes, in front of the theater, that man lived on his palace. You know how the houses are there, right? Long streets of colonial small houses of all colors in the island with the volcano. As if a forest, tropical forest of savanna, was blossoming just in the middle of the ocean. But that man lived there. He was turning 90 years old, very ill, very aged. He was a brother of a cello player in the orchestra or something. He constantly kept that handbag with oxygen, which he was constantly adjusting to his nose, and he could barely walk, but did not stop joking or talking. And he wanted to greet us in his palace, small palace, just in front of the theater. Why? Yes, because he did not know us in advance, but we had gone to play in the theater, and he wanted to be grateful and to offer something. He wanted to greet us. He prepared so much food, delicious. His children were cookers in some restaurant or something, and he prepared a big meal for all the orchestra in the garden of his palace. He had that tree, you know the trees in the islands, the dragos they call them. They live for hundreds and even thousands of years. That drago was 427 years old, according to the register, and it will live for much more than we always do. The man used to feed the birds, the canarios, on the tree. He climbed as he could with the handbag oxygen. He climbed through the staircase into the tree, and he still fed the birds every day. One day, he said, I will fall from the staircase and I'll kill myself. The birds will take me high. Remember, Sonia? That's what he said. The birds will take me high. We insisted on paying him a visit again after the concert. He refused. No, at 10 at night, I cannot, I'm not available any day. We all looked at him. Why? And he was adjusting the oxygen in his nose. Very ill, poor man. Because at 10 at night, I'm always making love. It's my routine. Poor man. At the moment of farewell, I said, thank you. We are very grateful. Long life to you. And he replied, listen, it might be made of more days or less days, but I will make sure it's long. Like today it was long for you, not for me. I only wanted to greet you, because I don't know how many remaining days I have. I only wanted to host you. It was not about the food, it was not about the conversation, it was about greeting and offering. And perhaps, next year, you will also come to the island with the orchestra to play in the theatre. Why not? Next season. You might be invited as well. And then, perhaps you will remember to pay a little visit to the historical cemetery, which is beautiful, and leave some roses on my tomb. Marcel will return tonight. Marcel came to the homeland, not expecting the song of the birds. Marcel used to measure with songs the time of the stars. But his songs were not the music of the birds, neither the somber ocean of the sunsets. One day Marcel will remember that his name had been written in dust. And embodied on the waters of the somber sea. He had sailed, he had been a comrade with sailors long time ago, but that is however already forgiven. He, Marcel, had danced, but silver dances are only heard far enough from the homeland. Sonia, what is it what the man said? The birds will take me high. Blackbird. But soon it will turn the tower for the bitter blue blackbirds. Many times I mistake your arch for the last wave of the sea. Far in the distance, that carries away the shore with it. Many times I mistake the freshness of your breast for the last of the moons, that forgets both the steps and the shadows and the chant of the leaves. Blackbird, common. Many times I mistake your skin for the cantor of the last aurora, that gives you and I our names. Blackbird, come, do not go that way, come, Blackbird. And while we love, you and I, while death sides and sides, how could the remaining land be named? The land with the garden of ashes, and the water with the bittersweet blackbird. Heaven was the name of the bird. But there was a time for the bird to fly. Wounded, wide, tiny, as the ocean is not but a tear of the universe. And the bird landed on the roses, and it nested the dreams of the roses, and wearing its wings, the bird parted the roses and dreamt their ashes. And at the moment of departure, praying for each of the smoked roses, the heart of the bird was burned and scorched like a liquid flowest in flames. And only the sky, so-called heaven, could treasure the ashes. Remember, darling, that concert 30, 40 years ago maybe. I had just played. In the intermission we were talking, discussing, in the green room backstage. This very old lady approached, 87 years old. She barely could walk, was with her 2 sticks, and she approached us. She was very, very tiny, with her extremely long red hair, like a forest fire, and her green eyes, like a cat. And she spoke with this slow, very, very mysterious voice of hers, like if a rock or a stone turned into a goddess were speaking to us. "You were right," she said. "Excuse me? Madam, I only played, I did not say anything." "You were right." She was Portuguese. Her name was Dolce. A coisa mais divina do mundo é amar. Eu ser amado. The most beautiful, the most wonderful thing in the world is to love and be loved. And she took my hands and she said, we are late, both of us. You have to go to your funeral and I have to go to my wedding. And she started running. I could barely see where she was. I ran after her, opened the door, went out of the building. She was in the other side of the river. But there wasn't any river before. She was between palms, wild palms, and trees with mellow fruits that let the most sweet songs be sounded. She was running among the forest, or among the desert, for desert can be as long as desire. When paradise takes the shape of the islands. For long we walked approaching the sea. Soon the ocean will become closer. The old marine songs were something, whistling at the same time my name and yours. And you sounded the old songs of the seamen when we approached the sea. For your voice has long kept the mystery of old archaic seashells. We pleaded for the sea, that it sang about love and distances. I remember the islands having as much sky as ocean around. Small was the land, but rich. Brave were the nights, and endless the farewell. North and south, hard the measures of the earth, 2 poles and the north. Like arrows, fracturing the sacred song of the sky, and the regions we inhabit, made out of stone or ocean, made out of mass or air, are broken in this earthly chant. North and south, the tragedy of geometry, the fissure we live in. Mournful, the earth covers us with dust, the earth, maker of whereabouts. Life, hell. But when an angel is about to die, fragile and white, winged and distant, he searches for an earthy being, may it be a fisherman or a poet, and he takes him to his rowboat, and they dance his dance. And in his song of light and death, places are reached and which the earth cannot be measured by any means, because there is no earth any longer. Then the morning is beautiful, and we lightly ascend in memoriam. Remember, Sonia? Oh yes, you do. The beautiful autumn days in Belgium. We spent some time in Belgium, huh? Antwerpen. You remember Central Station, like a cathedral? Yeah. And there was that beautiful old homeless woman, taken with her 2 supermarket trolleys. Those were her house. And I remember her sitting at a cafe in one of the tables with a notebook, with her scarf, with her cat, big coat, almost hidden. And I passed by her side and had a look at the notebook. She was writing, believe it or not, poetry, in French, I think. I remember one of the lines was talking about la lumière de Dieu, the light of God. And opposite her in the neighboring chair, it was this friend of her, a man from Cuba, actually. Very tiny, small, white moustache, like the snow at the peak of the Kilimanjaro. And he had very big jacket, big for him. Maybe 50 years ago it had been an elegant jacket. He took one of the cigarettes from the inner pocket and started smoking in the middle of the station. 2 policemen came. One was tall, the other not so much, but both of them very strong. Hey man, you cannot smoke in here. Stop, please. The man from La Habana did not speak neither English nor Dutch, not even French, I think. He only smiled at the policeman, full of charisma, and he said, man, this is Habano, very good, huh? Wanna try? Wanna try? Listen, one of the policemen was absolutely angry. The other one started laughing. The angry one was very serious. Man, stop smoking. Habano, very good, you wanna try? Policeman got very, very angry. He took the man from the shoulders and started moving him, and they were forcing. The old lady stood up. She took the hands of the policeman very gently and started talking to him. From the distance I could only hear, please understand. No, 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 no. Please understand. No, 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 no. Please understand. No, no, no. The man very calmly continued smoking in the middle of the station. The policeman, angry at last, took him very, very violently out of the station. At that moment, the poet, the apparently homeless woman, approached again the policeman. She took his hands, she took his ears, and took his head off and kissed him very, very, very kindly on the lips. The policeman was shocked, blocked. The other policeman started laughing more and more. And the woman just continued kissing the policeman. For the moment they stopped talking and arguing, Habano was almost finished. How many things a simple kiss can change? Soon, they say, the roses will offer us to smoke from their pipe. Down and departure. There was a time you used to tell me ocean tales and shore stories about youth. The dawn, at the end of the view, far from the way, was so delicate, and your voice was so fragile that it almost dealt with silence. The happiest words are told from the distance. How many journeys we had spoken about. How sad not to depart. But to remain, you have to be fragile, and you need silence to turn the sound of the ocean into words. The most beautiful tales come from far ports and distant coasts. And when poetry arouses, youth and beauty seem so close, as if they came together from the end of the way. There, where the sound bards and breaks, it's almost down. The promise of the pater is a sweet poem. Go for a prayer! Be grateful! Sacred music. I beg you were a melody, so I could sing you. And if I wish at any notes, you could perhaps faintly cross the river and come near, close but wide. What about love, if it was spoken with music, and sound kept all of its gestures? Everything could remain, lured by the sound. And we could simply take a seat and gather for a choir. And if you were turned into sacred music, I would just go into the woods in the search of silence next to the river, and I will calmly play the lute and scratch this melody of yours. Among the notes, whatever remains, unknown and loved. On hearts and horses. In the country of wild men, hearts are not hearts, but horses. For men do not tame horses. In the country of wild men, the girl of the flaxen broken hair is the pale age with which lovers both forgive and forget. Elisa keeps her lover in France. She holds her small heart like the calf of a white horse, and she shelters her violin in the river like a drunk rowboat. Today, like every Wednesday, round midnight, Elisa has gone rowing to take the violin from the river. What do the strings sing into the water? What songs do they make sound, far beyond the waves? The river gives water for the thirsty horses to drink, and so they rest, the horses, the rowers. The horses are the human heart, resting and galloping, far, far beyond the waves. Wild horses live on the stars. Wild horses live on the stars. Wild horses graze among tombs. The picker of flocks has led the horses to the cemetery, and he, the keeper of flocks, the farmer, rests in the shadow of the trees, while the horses taste the bitterness of the grass. Falling leaves and dead grass, and sweeter when lovers have been loved lying on them. But horses do not bother for the bitterness of the cemetery grass, for both beasts and wild souls poisons do not envenom them. When he is tired enough, the farmer, the keeper of horses, also lies down in the grass, waiting for the horses that are grazing. But they both lie down. And the boy, he does not have anyone to lie down with, so he does it on his own. Shall he turn the grass sweeter anyways? And the dead, resting, did they keep any love to sweeten the flavor of grass? After the night is gone, the keeper of flocks will make the way back with the wild horses. Gladly they are rapid, for they inhabit 2 or 3 constellations of stars, far beyond the winter and far beyond the cemetery, there where every night is always the last night. August 1984, I think. Remember, Sonia? We were at St. Louis or Oklahoma. Yeah. We had been driving for hours and hours. Long roads, endless roads. In the middle of the desert. Just in the middle of nowhere. And there we were. Very late. Very dark. Not a single soul on the abandoned road. For kilometers it would have been impossible to find anything. It was very late. Round midnight. And suddenly we found that building and stopped the car. It would have been impossible to find any other building in 30 kilometers around. That building. And we simply parked the car, get closer, opened the door, and found that canteen, that dancing ball, dancing place. Yeah, but it was empty. So big, so huge, and still empty. Not a single soul dancing on the abandoned dancing place. But there were the two brothers, twin brothers, Jean and Jacques, both of them playing the guitar. The two of them, they look at each other and they simply smile. They twin brothers, exactly identical, like two drops of water. They were playing the guitars, both of them bald and a little bit, moustache. They did not talk at all, they did not even smile, not for a single second. They just continued playing the guitar. They looked at the floor, they'd never smile. Sometimes they'd look at the ceiling. Yeah, maybe they got some inspiration from the lights. One of them simply started playing So Long Marianne, Jello Submarine, all the songs, and the other one simply continued playing. The two of them, they did not even change a word. And we got inside, very, very, very big, almost abandoned restaurant also. Some tables, maybe for, yeah. At the very end of the restaurant, there was that man. Many years later, I got to know it. His name was Tanaka. He was Japanese and had a lung cancer. He had lost his right arm in some war and only could use the left one. We took a seat, had some dinner. And then, Sonia, you and I were so touched by the music that I took you in my arms and we simply started dancing and rolling all around, dancing. And your hair, your long red head, was rolling like a mill all around the place, like the hours inside of a watch. And the brothers kept playing and kept playing. The Japanese man, with his big pilot glasses and his mouth as a temple, looked at us very quietly, very firmly. Then he smiled. He stood up. He started punching on the table with his left arm. And he started shouting, "Life too short, make the journey long. Life too short, make the journey long. Life too short, make the journey long." We continued dancing, you and I, all along the place, rolling around with your hair like a mill, rolling like the hours inside of a watch, while the two twin brothers continued playing and playing in an endless night of music. The Japanese man, yes, stood there. He continued shouting, "Life too short, make the journey long. Life too short, make the journey long. Life too short, make the journey long." And suddenly he was gone. Disappeared. I went to the door to look. In the middle of the desert, not a single car, not a single trace, completely faded out in the dark of the night. round midnight, later by then. Impossible, where was the man? We all came like passengers and we go like passengers. His name was Tanaka. Many years later I know it. He was by then 77 years old and had lung cancer. But he had forgotten some papers on the table. While we were dancing, you and I, Sonia, rolling around like the minutes or a meal inside of a watch, he had been painting. He had been making some beautiful paintings in all colors. And he had painted us, you and I, Sonia, or whoever you are. And he had painted us and had left the papers like an offering for us. Sometimes we receive things we did not even notice. And then it's too late to say thank you, but still we keep the offering. And he had also forgotten some other papers. Many years later, I knew about it. Those were letters he wrote but never sent. Letters addressed to a lost daughter or a dead lover. What might be the difference? He left the letters for us, maybe. Life too short, make the journey long. Life too short, make the journey long. We all come like passengers. We all go like passengers. We go on the roses. Soon, they say, the roses will offer us to smoke from their pipe. And we will walk in the desert, hanging the roses. And we will walk in the desert, for the desert can be long, as desire is long, equally long. What was what the man said in the islands? The birds will take me high, not the other thing. Yeah, and perhaps you will remember to pay a little visit to the local cemetery and leave the flowers on my tomb. Perhaps you will remember. We all come like passengers. We go like passengers. Make the journey long. Life too short. Make the journey long. We all come like passengers. We all go like passengers. We all go like passengers. We all go like passengers.